Hello everyone. In the previous lecture, we saw the rasa dosa and padadoṣa mentioned by Mammṭa. In this lecture, we are going to familiarize ourselves with the vākyadoṣas or the poetic faults pertaining to the sentence mentioned by Mammṭa. Mammṭa mentions 17 vākyadoṣas. These doshas mentioned by Mammṭa include pratikula varnam, upahata visarga, lupta visarga, visanthi, hridavritta, न्यूनपद, अधिकपद, कथितपद, पादत्प्रकर्ष, समाप्तपुनरादम, अर्थान्तरौकवाचक, अपवन्मतयोग, अनभिहितवाच्य, अस्थानस्थपद, अपदस्थ, पदसमास, संकीर्ण, गर्भिदम, प्रसिद्धिहतम, थग्नप्रक्रम, अमदपरार्थ. Let's take a look at these doshas in detail. The first dosha we are going to see is pratikula varna. Pratikula varna is the employment of letters that do not suit the emotion that is being depicted. According to Mammṭa, the letters also play a vital role in the delineation of certain emotions. If the letters employed in a sentence are not favorable to the rasa that the poet wants to express, then it will result in the dosha called pratikula varna. For example, harsh words are not suitable for the delineation of Sringara rasa or the aesthetic emotion of the erotic. If a poet employs harsh words in a sentence where the Sringara rasa is being represented, it will adversely affect the delineation of that emotion. Similarly, the employment of soft letters and simple words will not suit the expression of Vira rasa. What suits this emotion is harsh sounding letters and long compounds. As against this rule, if the poet uses soft letters and simple words to express the Vira rasa, the poet will definitely be committing the dosha called pratikula varna. So the dosha called pratikula varna arises when the poets use letters that do not suit the aesthetic emotion to be conveyed through a particular sentence. The next dosha is upahada visarga. Upahada visarga is the dosha that arises out of the frequent transformation of visargas at the end of words into O sound through sandhi. According to Mammṭa, the frequent transformation of visarga into the O sound in a sentence is a dosha. The next dosha is lupta visarga. According to Mammṭa, the frequent deletion or the dropping of visarga through sandhi is also a poetic fault, and it should be avoided by the poets. The third dosha is visanthi. We have seen this dosha previously also. Visanthi is the faulty compounding of words in a sentence. The dosha called visanthi occurs when the words employed in a sentence appear to be discordant, thereby creating absence of proper sandhi or compounds. According to Mammṭa, this discordance of letters in a sentence can happen in three ways: discordance resulting in disjunction, discordance resulting in indecorousness, and finally discordance resulting in the harshness of sound. The next dosha that Mammṭa mentions is hridavritta. Hridavritta is the marred poetical meter. It is of three kinds, namely the one which, though technically satisfying the formal conditions, remains unpleasant and unmelodious to the ear. Secondly, that one where the meter used is not in harmony with the sentiment depicted. And finally, the one where the last syllable of the foot is not elongated. After hridavritta, Mammṭa explains ņūnapada. Ņūnapada is the deficiency of a word due to which the meaning is not properly conveyed. Next is adhikapada. Adhikapada, the next dosha, is the presence of an extra redundant word in a sentence which is otherwise not required to express the meaning. Kathitapada is the repetition of the same word that is mentioned over and over again in a sentence. The next defect is called padat prakarsha. Padat prakarsha is the falling off of excellence. When a particular sentiment or idea fails to reach its zenith, then it results in padat prakarsha, or the falling off of the excellence. The following is an example of padat prakarsha. What boar and where would not make the terrible ghur ghur sound? What elephant would not deprive the lotus ponds of its lotuses? What wild buffalo would not uproot the forest? Now that the lion lies captivated by the laugh of the lioness. Ganganath Cha describes padat prakarsha in this line. He says, here the climax is not maintained to the end. It breaks off after the third line. The destructiveness of the one animal, that is the boar, it is described in the first foot. Greater destructiveness of another animal, that is the elephant, is described in the second foot. And still greater destructiveness of another animal, which is the bull, is described in the third foot. This climax would have been rightly maintained if the lion's destructive powers were also described in the last foot. But this pattern is not followed here. What is done on the other hand is that the fierce destructiveness of animals is toned down towards the end to the quiescent lying down of the lion under the captivating influence of feminine charms of the lioness. The next dosha listed by Mammṭa is samapta punarata. It is the resumption of an idea which is already well concluded. The following is an example of this dosha. Like unto the twang of Cupid's bow, the sweet singing of the cuckoo of the dalliance, the humming of bees in the blossoms of love, the sound of the partridge of graceful sportiveness, may the jingling of the slender girl's bangles dropped in the shaking of her arms at the time of the attempt to remove her bodice expand your love, the jingling resembling the ring of the flute, play to the dancing of youthfulness. Here, the last qualification is thrown in after the sentence has been completed, and it does not materially add anything to the beauty of the description. The next dosha is arthantara ukavachaka. It is the isolation in the second half of a shloka of an expressive word required in the first half. The next dosha is abhavanmata yoga. What is abhavanmata yoga? It is the want of intended connection. It is the absence of the desired connection in a sentence. Omission of a necessary statement is anabhihita vachya. After anabhihita vachya, Mammṭa goes on to explain the dosha called asthanastha pada. Asthanastha pada is the misplacement of a word in a sentence. Apadastha pada samasa is that kind of a dosha where the words of one sentence are found in the midst of another. The next dosha that we are going to see is garphida. What is garphida? Garphida is the unnecessary insertion of a parenthetical statement in a sentence. These parenthetical statements, referred to by the dosha named garphida, results in the generation of contradictory meanings and generates confusion in the minds of readers. After the dosha called garphida, Mammṭa explains prasiddhihada. What is prasiddhihada? Prasiddhihada is the use of a word or a series of words in a sentence against these words' popular usage. When the words signify their obsolete meanings, they fail to convey the meaning effectively to the readers. Now, the penultimate dosha called bhakna krama. What is bhakna krama? It is a violation of the uniformity of expression. Here the expression broken uniformity means the absence of the continuity of sequence. The last dosha is Amatta-parartha. Amatta-parartha is the generation of a second meaning that the author has not intended in a sentence. Sahachara bhinna is the dosha resulting from mismatch. The following is an example of the dosha called Sahachara bhinna. Intelligence is adorned by learning, illiteracy by frivolity, women by lasciviousness, the river by water. This sentence may sound quite politically incorrect, but just keep in your mind the time at which Mammṭa is writing this. Mammṭa says that here the excellent things are often juxtaposed along with wrong items. In other words, the excellent things are wrongly associated with such inferior things as illiteracy and frivolity. And these are the vākyadoṣas mentioned by Mammṭa. I hope these doshas are quite clear to you. Thank you so much.